All right, we're live for today's session. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to everyone joining us from the Gulf during your lunch break, and a very good morning and good evening to our international audience joining us from outside the Gulf. I'm Mithuna Murugesh, the RIBA Business Development Manager for the Gulf. As most of you know, the RIBA in the Gulf covers 7 countries in the region, including the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait, and Jordan. And we are pleased to have members joining in from all 7 countries today. I know we also have international members joining us from Egypt, Portugal, UK, China, and India beyond the 7 Gulf countries. Before we start, if you would like to join the RIBA, please do send in your email address in the chat bar alongside, and the team will be able to support you personally. Similarly, if you have any questions or any thoughts for our speaker today, do send them in at any point of time during the session in the chat bar alongside. Now, moving to today's session, it's with great pleasure that I introduce Mouaz Abouzaid, the founder of Workform Design Studio in Dubai. Muaz will be discussing his project XSpace, which deals with potentially creating urban greenways for Dubai. So thank you, Muaz, for joining us. Over to you.
Thank you, Mithona, for the introduction. I really would like to thank the RIBA Gulf for this invitation. We're really happy to share what we do, and especially XSpace, as it's the start of I think we changed our company officially to be based in Dubai after this project. We'll explain a little bit about this. So talking about XSpace as well, we believe that the only thing constant in this world is the change. I will just skip those slides, and then we go direct to XSpace.
Yeah,
Building hope. It's about building hope for people through the creation of places and identity. That's the aim behind it. A courtyard acts as a community focus as well. It's about the architecture dialogue, the how we are. That's also what we see here. It's part of the project, but it's a small pavilion. It's about XSpace as well. Very soon we will have it in real. We was also part of the D3 Architecture Festival. The project was there in the exhibition. If we talk about XSpace in details now to take you in the journey, actually it's about remaking the future while learning from the past, the best of times gone by inspire solutions of the coming decades. XSpace, if I'm choosing a statement for XSpace, it will be about stitching and creating the urban areas that reflects all aspects of life. The starting point actually was from the desert, was from the action of nature, how the desert is, how actually the sand dunes are changing and giving us a message. I was flying the drone there in the desert, and then I captured some images, and then I started to think about it a lot, not about XSpace, but in general about, it opened a lot of thoughts for me. And then we started to do a lot of research. We started to look into the historical background of the city, what's Dubai, how Dubai started, and so on. I think if I will focus on that image here on the screen. This is Sheikh Zayed Road many years ago. As you can see here, some buildings on the screen here, it's still there actually. And then we have another building there. So it was few buildings. The road itself was only 2 lanes from each side. So it was a very normal road. It wasn't a highway. It wasn't meant to be a highway. And then because of the development that happened and the changes, and so the city started to change a lot. Even the population start to increase, and what we see now here, it is actually the infrastructure in one of the bridges in Sheikh Zayed Road. Just focus on the scale of the car here, and then imagine the scale of people, and then have a look at the landscape that's happening here, that almost no one is using it, but you can also place maybe another building here just in this area. So I think the infrastructure somehow was behind the master plan and what's happening in the let's say the city model. The city has become the most congested city in the Middle East. People, traffics, the car ownership actually, we have for each 2 people who have 1 car. I don't know what will happen later in 2035. It will maybe reach up to 3.5 million. So the cars are going to increase. So if to increase, are we going to take more from the city? So it's a lot of questions there. I'll just leave you for a few seconds with that video to put you in the mood to see how the city changing here. How can we? I mean the scale. Imagine the scale of the buildings, the scale of the roads, the scale of the bridges. So it's really, that's Sheikh Zayed Road from several, we just took some videos from several areas there just to understand the city more and more. And then we started doing two analysis and into numbers and the statics. And we have around 200 nationalities here in Emirates, 20% local, 80% are people coming from outside. As you can see, the 2.8 is the current population. So why do we need smart cities? I think the simple answer for it, as population number rise, several countries see environmental and social changes. So I think we need to start to look into smart cities, but smart cities from a different perspective, not from, I think that perspective that we are trying to look for, it's more about people, more about creating more spaces for people. Also, Rem Class said something interesting for me. He said that we live in an era of completions, not new beginning. So in some areas in the world, the city is running out spaces there. But here in the Gulf, we have a lot of spaces, but also we need to look into, because the Gulf actually, the last years, not only Dubai, and I think the region, the entire region, we start to look into it. Some countries, like my country, for example, Egypt, is looking now into Dubai as a model for designing the city when we are designing a new city. But we see that there's still some issues that we need to resolve. So those issues actually, I can just simplify it in that we need to stitch the urban fabric of the city together. That's actually our aim, and that's what we are trying to do. And if we look more globally, we'll find that the number of population, as we can see, I was searching for an image to explain, and I think this is the best image for me to explain the increase of the population. So again, why did we reach that model? I think technology was a big part of the problem in the 20th century. When we invented the cars, we recreated our landscape around it. So the module changed from the people to the cars and buses and all this mobility. So I think the more transportation choices, we will have less traffic. We will have maybe we can bring back those areas that we lost already because of the cars. So this is again all the thoughts behind XSpace. Why did we reach that one? And then we start to look into examples that happened in several places in the world. I think one of the good examples that I can see as an idea. I know that there was a lot of issues in construction and the budget and so on. Boston, the big dig, but it's really one of the good example to look for. There's South Korea also. They transferred again the roads into they brought back life into the city. The temperature actually dropped down in the city. So I think we have a lot to let's say to talk about once we say that we are canceling road and then we are bringing life to the city. I think life will come back. If you're working in any place in Dubai, just focus with the sound. Do you hear birds? Do you see too much trees? I think the answer is not really, not inside the communities. I'm talking about outside the communities there. Spain also in Madrid, they canceled roads and they give back some spaces to the city again. In Barcelona, maybe not, they canceled some roads and they changed it for people and they reduced the traffic in some of the areas. And this is the super block, and it was one of the most amazing examples, in my opinion. How can you transform the city into something more human being, more human scale? This is actually an intersection for roads, and how those intersections are really can be used for several activities. So instead of just having an intersection for car, now it could be used for a lot of spaces. People start to meet in different roads. As you can see, kids are playing. So life, I'm calling it life. Life is back to the city. Looking into the Dubai Smart Cities 6 pillars, actually, which is life, society, mobility, economy, environment, and everything. I think this is something that we really need to dig more deep inside it. And not only from the theoretical part, we need also to have, I believe that we need kind of urban interventions in the middle of the cities everywhere to start to bring back all those values to the city. It's not only about having home automations and everything that I will be doing through mobiles and internet. No, it's about also creating a friendly and environmental spaces that can bring life to the city. Challenges that Dubai is taking also, it's Dubai Water Canal. I think the entire street was just became a bridge just to bring a lifeline to the city. And I think now it's time also to create a space where people can use it as well, and cars can just be transformed into a tunnel or another thing. There's a lot of challenges happening. Dubai Expo. One of the challenges also in mobility, it is the drone. I believe that this should change once it's activated. I think it should change the way how we think about infrastructure, how we think about roads, how we think about the master plan of the city in general. In our opinion, and in our case here, we decided to create a transitional space that becomes the city-owned urban living room. This is XSpace for us. This is a simple statement that translates what's XSpace. If I look into the map here, you'll find the red line here. This is Sheikh Zayed Road. It shows you almost from end of Dubai, Sharjah up to Abu Dhabi. So it's actually splitting the city in two pieces, into east and west. Even when you're driving through Sheikh Zayed Road, if you want to take any exit, you will find go east or west. So it's also, I mean, it's like we see it. We see it everywhere for normal people, not only architects. And that was a lot of opened a lot of questions for us in the office here, and we start to look into solutions there. And we start to look into the macro scale. How can we find solution for several areas? And then we asked ourselves, what are the areas that need to be connected to each other's as the most active one? If I look into that zone here, this is the zone of, that's the start actually of Sheikh Zayed Road, where you have here the Museum of the Future, and then the next station, as I will call XSpace as station now. So the next station will be the business-based station. The station after this one, it will be the area where it's connected, connecting Jumeirah and Barsha and Tikum and this area, where you have the Mall of the Emirates here. And then the station after this one will be the Internet City and what's happening on the other side here. And then the last one, which is the most complicated one, it is actually Marina and the GLT. So again, looking into several locations where we can have the XSpace potential locations, and then we start to focus more into one just to study it well, and then we see that if this prototype can be really copied in several areas, not only in Dubai. I believe this could really be maybe in Riyadh, maybe in Jeddah, maybe in Qatar, maybe in Egypt. We are not saying that this is 100% only for Dubai. No, it can work for a lot of countries there. The philosophy actually is to develop an urban fabric focused on sharing, integration, tolerance for human scale urbanism. That's the manifesto for our design. It's XSpace urban greenway. To zoom into our area here, just to understand the context, that's the museum. That's also was another question for us, like why don't we create a plaza that can connect to the museum, because the museum actually there is no approach to the museum. Usually when I travel everywhere and I go to visit museums, I see always the approach, and then after this it takes you step by step until you reach to the museum. So this is one of the main things that we wanted to do here. Another thing also was to connect the DIFC with the new development, because we have seen a lot of development happening here in this area here. So it was about connecting these two together. And then that's let's say the micro vision. The macro vision of this one is actually to go from the 1 kilometer into 10 kilometer, and we connect that space with Dubai Mall, with City Walk, with all the area around. The courtyard acts as a community focus. That's the main thing behind the project. Walkability, we are trying to activate the walkability, the future of mobility, human scale urbanism, also the connectivity and interaction as an example also for other city to see it. Again, that photo, it came maybe after we designed the project with several months, but I was very happy to go there and see how it is. We felt how people want to use this space. As you can see, the amount of people that you can fit in this area, it's unbelievable. And then this year also it happened that there was bicycles there, and so we always check what's happening in the area, and I think it's really important. The other side is what we see here. Whenever you increase this road, there is traffic. It's always traffic happening. And if we add more lanes, we will get more traffic. So I think the solution is not to add more roads or more lanes. We need to think about a different way. If we plan our cities for cars and traffic, we get cars and traffic. If we plan for people and places, we get peoples and places. The context also to understand the area there. I think this is very familiar for everyone living in Dubai. If you want to cross the road, the only way for it, it's the bridge through the metro station. It's very interesting, the bridge, but it's for me, it's like a small pipe that I just need to go through it. And then the next pipe, it will be maybe 20-minute, 40-minute walking to the other station. And you will be not lucky if you are in the middle of the two stations and you want to cross the other side. It happened with me, and that was the explosion behind XSpace. That's the time that we start to discuss it, we start to think about it, we start to say, okay, why don't we think about a solution for this area? Again, another thing, I'm not critiquing anything here, but actually we are learning from the past, we're learning from all the areas in Dubai, the two sides of the coin. What we see from the right side, it's Bur Dubai, it's the old city, and what we see from the left side, it's the new city. Why don't we bring the values of the old city into the modern city and all this? And actually, one of the books that very inspiring, and we read a lot about it during the research. It is The Lifescape Beyond Bigness for Dr. Khalid Al-Awadi. I think it explains a lot about this point. So I will not be the best one to explain it. I think Dr. Khalid have amazing book just to explain this lifescape beyond bigness. I think we need to learn from this book a lot. And then again, we start to just graphically to imagine, okay, what if we just consider this Sheikh Zayed Road as a giant hole in the middle of the city? How are we going to connect there? So as you can see, the places for people to move, it's very limited. That's a video also that we start to look into before we designing the building. And then we see here how the reaction of nature, how the nature is sending a message to us, like take an action, do something, take part of the roads, take part of bring back to the city. So I would say it's the statement here. It's about bringing back a lot of values to the daily social life as a manifestation of human-scale urbanism. That's the main inspiration and the main concept behind even the form finding of this project. What we see here, it's a diagram that's showing the percentage actually between the vehicles and pedestrian. 90-80% for cars, the rest is for people. What about flipping the equation and giving 75% for people and giving 25% for cars? Is that possible? Let's see this in the next slides. So the inspiration is not only the sand dunes, it's actually, there is a lot of layers. There is the vernacular architecture, there is the simplicity, there is the several shapes of the sand dunes as well. We try to learn from usually in any when we work in any country, the first thing that we do, we like to study the context, we study the history. And then after all this long discussions and research and so on, I got a very nice trip from here to Manila. It was 8 hours, and those was the first sketches in the airplane. 8 hours, what can we do? I said, okay, the sketches is the best thing to do. And then we start to write like several keywords: connectivity, walkability, workplace of the future, sand movement, drone technology, sky gardens, cycling tracks, teaching and creating urban areas. A lot of questions, a lot of statements there. That the sketch was very rough sketch, but it was just the first idea. What can we do in this area? And then the 8 hours back, I got better sketches. We thought more about it. And then I can say that it's a transition space that becomes the city urban living room and bringing back also the values. A building that creates a new path through the landscape, not a barriers, not an obstacle. That's also one of the things that we didn't want to do. If I'm putting a new building in the middle of the street, I don't want it to stop people. I want people to go through it. And can the building become the extension of the landscape? I think that's a question all of us as an architects and urban designer need to ask ourselves. Because usually I believe that the buildings in general, they block us from other. So if we have a way to let people go through this one, I think that would be a successful example. And then we tried our best to translate this in the design. The left side here is actually the vertical normal workspaces. And then here it is the new, a more interactive horizontal layout, a place where you can communicate, work, entertain. The courtyard connects multiple levels and so on. It's a mixed use building because we cannot fix it. It depends on where we locate this XSpace. We will have the land use of the area there will define what's the function of the building. It could be a hotel, it could be a residential, it could be an office, it could be a governmental space, whatever the use is. A typical response for anyone is going to build in Sheikh Zayed Road is just to go build a new icon, a new tower, just to compete with the rest of the towers. I think we are enough of towers there. We have a lot there. We need something different. So we flipped somehow the skyscraper into a landscraper. That was the first approach. And we said also we want people to use the ground floor. So we left the building a little bit up, and then we used the sky garden above the building. We created plazas, courtyards, and then the roads. The first thought about it was to place it as a tunnel. And then we said, okay, why don't we have again another layer? Because buildings from both sides here are suffering from parkings, and so we said that we can create another layer for parking where it can help all those buildings. Plus, we will have in the middle a bicycle track that connected the two metro stations together, and the building itself also in some areas can act as a metro station. It can be whenever I travel, whenever I go use the public transportation. I always meet people in the main stations there. Central station, we meet there, we have a coffee, we drink something, we talk, and then we plan for our move there. So I think this is what we're missing here also in metro stations in Dubai. It's one of the things that we need to, the experience of the project, it's about framing the past and the future, looking also into the location of the first XSpace. You are looking toward old Dubai, and the other side you are looking toward the future of Dubai. Access to the sky garden. I always wanted to stop the car in the middle of the street or just slow down the 140 and 120 speed just to enjoy the road, and this is not possible. If you want to do this, you have to go into the service road. You will not find parking, and then you will just continue your way. The courtyard view as well. You can we placed the Burj Khalifa in the center of the courtyard, so you can easily see it. So those spaces in the ground floor can be used for a lot of events, for national days, for celebration of New Year, for whatever. It's about transforming the city infrastructure. That's the main target behind this project. I had a lot of discussion about the shape of the building, and my answer was always that we can design million buildings, million shape in this area. This is not the main vision behind this project. The main vision behind the project, it's actually the interaction of people, to give the people a new platform where they can use it instead of the cars. That's the main thing. Those are just some images to explain the connectivity and the how we are connecting and stitching the city together. Form evolution also, we spent some time to refine the shape and to get some interesting dynamic form that can blend with the landscape. Walkability, we believe that it offers some benefits to health and the environment, so it was one of the key words behind this project. Technology also, we believe that now it can be part of the solution if it bends to the need of people there. Before, at the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned that it is actually somehow it was part of the problem, and now I think we can use it if it bends to our need as a people there. We thought about the blockchain, that it could be also like a new seed in the middle of the city to transform each area into a smart city. That was also another thing behind it. The program actually, as you can see, the first layer is the tunnel, and then after this we have a plaza, and then we have some cycling track that goes and vanishes under the building and goes from the other side. Also, there is public spaces where people can use it, and then there is some food and beverage in the ground floor. We have sky gardens with two main gardens here, one toward the Museum of the Future, and the other one is looking toward the Burj Khalifa. We can have a gym. We can have a very signature, iconic, let's say, brands on those two on the top of the building, because it's the best view actually. So instead of just looking quickly in a few seconds through your window from the car or from the roof of the car, you will sit there, you will enjoy the view. That's the aim behind it. The section here explained it maybe in a better way. The lower level here, this is the tunnel, and then here this is the parking and access to the parking, and then you are connected through the courtyard here, and then you have the bicycle track where it's closed in some areas, but also it's open through a skylights where you can go to the other side of the building. That's another section, just explaining it maybe in a just to see the function of the building. The importance of this diagram actually is it's not about the building, it's about this connectivity between the two sides. Because if we create again a new building in the middle, we are blocking again the connection between the two sides. So we wanted to use this as a kind of connectivity. That's another section showing the road, showing the tracks, showing the plaza, showing the building from up. That's the master plan, showing how can we place this building. Still, the road and the tunnel remain as it is as the width of the road, and then this goes under the building, and then the building is just creating like kind of arch that the structure and it's a very complicated structure, but I believe that it's possible to be done. We see the Museum of the Future, and I think after this structure, anything can be built. Again, looking into the plans and how the plans are, that's only half of the building. If we look into the plans here, that's the ground floor. We actually reserve the space here. We call it XSpace Museum. This XSpace Museum will be a place where it can show the evolution of Sheikh Zayed Road, how it changed from the past to current, hopefully, if we will have a chance to build this project one day. We just want people to remember this moment. So the entire ground floor is mainly for people. It could be food and beverage, maybe pavilions, art galleries, and so on. And then other floors can be used, as I said, as a multifunctional spaces. It could be office building, it could be governmental spaces, it could be hotels. Residential, I'm not sure about it, but I'm sure about hotel would be an interesting one here. And then the upper floor, which is the roof, where you have a closed space for the restaurant or for the other facilities, and then it's connected from the ground floor where you can just go direct to this space, or you can just go with the steps above the building to enjoy the view and enjoy the building. Those are just few very quick animation just to show the idea. At the start, it was a very small lanes, and then it increased, and then we have the plaza, and then we have the layers, and then we have the buildings. So just illustrating the how it looks like. Again, at the end, it's a transitional space that becomes the city urban living room. This is again a space that could be an outdoor and indoor in the same time. It's an exterior, creates a series of public spaces. That's the what's behind those images. Here, this one here, it could be closed. It could be a space for celebrating event in summer, and then in winter it can be open. It can be connected to the plaza. What you see here in the center, this is Museum of the Future. So we are giving gift to the museum, which is the plaza. That's showing the layers of let's say interaction between people, between the bicycle, and then at the end the tunnel there. The last image here, this is the courtyard, or the image before the last. This is the courtyard, which is the courtyard of tolerance. We placed the national tree of Al-Jaf tree in the middle of the courtyard, because we believe this place should be for tolerance in general. Yeah. This is more about future of mobility. It's a very quick animation just to show our vision and what we want this area to be transformed to. You will be using, let's say, technology. You will meet robots in the middle of this courtyards. The entire space, we believe that it should be really acting as a smart building and transforming the area into a smart city. The roof will become an accessible stage and meeting place. Imagine that you are moving step by step slowly to enjoy the view, to see the drones flying instead of cars on the ground, and then to sit here just to look into Burj Khalifa, and from the other side you will see other. And then once you move to the other station of XSpace, you will see other views. So it's like instead of moving by car, XSpace will take you in several stations to enjoy the view, enjoy the city. And I would like just to close the presentation with the statement: the future of our cities is about people. Thank you.
So we do have one question, Mouaz. Sarah asks if she can know the name of the book that you mentioned.
Yes, it is. Let me bring it closer to the screen. It's Lifescape Beyond Bigness. I will share it also in our Instagram stories for people to go through it. It's a very interesting book. Please read it. I'm still reading, and I will keep reading forever about this book.
Do you value social factors over environmental factors in your projects?
I think the main point behind that project, it is actually the social factors, and but it's we cannot ignore the other one. It's I would say it's a merge of a lot of values coming together to create any building, not only XSpace. And this is what we try through our design process to improve it, and always put people at the heart of the practice. But also we cannot ignore the other factors as well. So my answer is yes, but we need to consider other factors as well.
Perfect. And if you could give us a brief about cooling systems in the building, that would be interesting.
Well, the cooling system, I believe that it should be. We didn't reach that stage yet, honestly. But from our experience working in Dubai and working in the region here, so there's a lot of district coolings that can be a solution for the cooling for this kind of buildings. Most of the spaces, what we tried actually in that one is actually also to create shadows in most of the areas in the courtyard and in the arcades that when you are moving down. So we believe that doing the right architecture will help us to let's say reduce the temperature in general. What we have from the amount of cars around us, from the heat that coming from the transportation in general, I think this is really something that we try to let's say to reduce. But also at the same time, for sure, 100% will be solutions like district coolings and all that stuff. But we didn't actually reach that one yet. It's a good question because I would like to mention one point here that that project actually, and I'm happy to say this, that it started without any invitation for any competition. We just decided to do something. And we keep doing it because we have other projects. We keep doing this whenever we have enough time to think about it. It's part of our research and development as well. So, and I'm really inviting all the architects and the practices to think similarly, and because that's the only way to improve our community and our society. Otherwise, we will keep building boxes beside boxes, and it's not really what we are aiming for. We didn't open our office in 2019. To continue creating issues and mistakes and troubles. We want to find solutions there.
Great, thank you, Mouaz. Someone mentioned the project is interesting. Any reason why it hasn't been built? It's quite a broad question for you, Mouaz.
Well, we wish that it would be built. As I said, that was initiation from our side. We actually did several presentations for RTA, for the executive office, we sent it to several governmental also entities also, but we got a nice feedback, and then Corona happened, COVID happened, right. Lockdown happened, so it slowed down all the process. I don't know, I don't promise anything, but I promise you now, just whenever we have any good news, we'll share it with you. But wonderful. So far, we don't really have any green light to go ahead with the project. But we are happy that we did something, even if it will not be built. At least we thought about something. So one day we'll say that we did this project in this area.
Right. Sarah asks, what are the methods used to protect against the weather, especially in the United Arab Emirates? Or how would you protect the building from the sun's heat?
From sun's heat, I think the first thing, just don't build glass boxes. And this is what we're avoiding. We're trying not to use glass everywhere. We're trying to reduce, even when we're doing an office building, or we don't go with the normal, like glass box from everywhere. So consider the solid, think about in general about where you're locating your building. Think about the south facade, the east and west. So there is different treatment for each facade. If I'm looking into the south, I like always to think horizontal solutions. When I'm looking into the east and west, I'm always going for vertical solutions. From the north, I'm trying to open as much as I can. So I think it's similar like when you approach any city in the Middle East in general, we'll have the same weather. So it's a normal approach for any building that we're doing. Just avoid doing the mistakes that people was doing here in Dubai. It was again, it's not a mistake. It's something that we should learn from. And we should not repeat it. Yeah,
Absolutely. That's a good segue actually into our next question.
yeah.
Do you think that projects like this will change or reshape the way we move and commute within cities?
Will change what?
Do you think projects like this will change or reshape the way we move and commute within
Yes,
cities?
yes, I believe so, because again, the main idea of those buildings and stations that we created to be closer to the metro stations, to make it easy for people to interact together. So you don't need to walk like 40 minutes or 20 minutes just to reach a space where you can meet your friend. Though I'm using public transportation, I'll just take the station, I will go to the next station, I will meet my friend there in XSpace 1 or XSpace 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 and so on. Yeah. So I believe it is. And the other thing, actually, it will, because we are thinking about transforming the 1 kilometer around it into a smart city and reduce the use of car. So the smart mobilities also will be used there. So I think all of this, I know that I'm talking about a big dream, but this is the way how big dreams are achieving it. We need to think big to achieve at least 50% of what we want.
Mhm. And someone has commented stating, though the design translation process incorporates the cultural context, but are we compromising in some way on the vernacular architectural expressions?
Well, let's think about it, and let's think about where we are building now. The area where we are building in, it's totally modern, contemporary city. I don't see any of the towers around those areas as are reflecting the culture or the identity of the city. What we wanted to do actually is to get inspiration from the nature of the city, even from the vernacular architecture in a simple way. But the building itself, I will not build a new building in Dubai now and add bargeels everywhere in the building just to make it look contemporary. I think we are faking the architecture when we are copying and pasting again, sort of like replica from the, and then in the future, after 50 years or 100 years, people will be confused. What's the history? What's the copy? What's the paste from it? So we try to avoid actually copying not only in Dubai, in any city. We are inspired from it. We're learning from it. We learn from the elements, the urban elements of the old city and the fabric of the city. But then when we are designing, we're in 2021 now. We need to design a building that can match with our needs and our future, and also a timeless building that can stay forever.
Absolutely. Someone commented stating, thank you for an exciting presentation. Can you elaborate, please, on the connections between the various transport options and the pedestrians, and what would be proposed to enable walkability all year round?
Okay, so the first X, which is X1, it's actually in the middle of two stations. And it's almost the distance between them. It's a little bit more than 1 kilometer, but not I would say not more than 1.5 kilometer. So imagine that you are using the metro, you go down from here, you'll find a very interesting plaza where you can walk, where you can cross the street, where you can even walk in shadows. And so all of this, I believe it is initiating the walkability. If I'm using my bicycle, I will find a place where it can connect me from one station to another. So all of this, I think, initiations is helping we tried also in this kilometer to avoid using cars. We are using smart mobilities, where it can, because again, the reason behind all of this, it's actually reducing the amount of cars. And I think the more choices and more transportation choices that we are providing, the more this is a big vision for the country and for the government and for the mobility in general, transportation. But we are trying just to throw a hint that we would like really to do something here. And I believe this should be only for 1 kilometer, as I mentioned in one of the slides. I believe that this could maybe increase to 10 kilometers, where it can connect the entire area together.
Perfect. And how would this project aid in controlling traffic on Sheikh Zayed Road?
So before I move to that question, there's something I want to highlight. If you remember the slides where I was sharing the 80%, 20%, 80% for cars, 20% for people, and the project actually flipped the equation, so it became 75% for people and 25% for cars. So this is again completing the previous answer, and it will move me to answer the next question. We didn't cancel roads; we just moved the entire road to be done as a tunnel. So it should not change anything from the vision of the traffic in the city. But we actually provided places and provided also connectivity between the stations and other to make people to actually let's say to push people to use the public transportation as well. So I believe this should somehow reduce the, imagine that you are just living 2 stations far from your work, and you'll just take the metro, and then you will walk to your office, and then in the way back you will do the same. So you are not going. I met a lot of friends that would love to use bicycles in Dubai, would love to walk in Dubai, and they still see I would say the city is fragmented. It's not really stitched together. And not only XSpace, I think ideas similar to XSpace and maybe better than XSpace could really help it will be like an urban intervention in the middle of the city to stitch the city back together.
Perfect. And Saima asks, the climate of the UAE is very hot in summer. So will the places like courtyards be useful in the hot days?
Yes, I believe so, because again, the courtyard is, once you use a courtyard with let's go back to the vernacular now, as urban thoughts. Look at the courtyard, look at the water features in the middle of the courtyard, look at the way how you really accept the wind and you transform it to move around all of this. I think all of this is changing don't take currently the current urban fabric where you just go in the middle of the street, asphalt black everywhere, and then you're saying that the climate is, yes, sure, it will be hotter. If I'm wearing black and I'm standing in the middle of the sun, I will just burn in the sun here. So I think we need to take different actions toward our urban and architecture, and this will be a great help to change the climate. As I mentioned, in South Korea, the temperature dropped down because of just they brought back the lake and they removed some of the roads there. In Madrid, same, and in other cities happened the same. So I believe that it's possible, but don't take the current situation. We study from the current situation, we learn from it, and just go back to the history, go back to the old fabric of the city, and I'm sure this you will find the answer there.
Perfect. An opinion piece here. The Western world is seeing the benefits of rewilding its urban fabric and what effect this can have on cooling urban spaces during periods of high temperature. Does this have its place in the Middle East?
I think so. Yeah, this is the same answer like I was saying before. Like once you bring back those nature back to the city, and for me, it's enough just to hear the sound of birds while I'm walking. This is, I think, something we are missing here. Maybe inside the closed communities, you can find something like this. But when I'm walking in the streets, and I like to walk in general, I'm just waiting the time when I travel out of Emirates and I don't use cars at all. I like to trace the city while walking. So we are missing this feeling, and there is other benefits here as well. But we're talking about all the benefits there. I mean, why don't you have a perfect model from all the sides? As people are copying this model, so let's make it perfect as much as we can.
Perfect.
Well, there is another thing also about the value of the road itself. I think the road itself, as a Sheikh Zayed road, the name of the road, it has a lot of values. Values. People admire Sheikh Zayed, and I think that's one of the reasons they called the one of the main roads that connecting all the Emirates together. So. But we see that after all the development happened in Dubai, this area start to lose a little bit let's say it's not same like before. We don't feel it same like before. Before, when anyone was coming to visit Dubai, I was the first thing I take him to the Sheikh Zayed to show him Dubai, and now there's a lot of competition in the city here, and I think it's time to reactivate back Sheikh Zayed Road again.
Absolutely. And speaking of roads, someone stated XSpace seems to bridge together segments of the highway, but have you considered addressing interchanges that also take up a large amount of land?
Yes, I agree, but that let's get approval on XSpace, and my next space was to remove the interchange. That's I promise this will be my next step. But what during all the presentation, I was trying to find a possible solution that when you see it, this is possible to be built. If we are removing everything from Sheikh Zayed Road, I think we are totally destroying everything in one time. So it needs to go through stages, but I totally agree that the interchange, and maybe in one of the images that I was showing, the amount of landscape that no one is using, you're only, when you are turning, through the bridge, you just see it. And usually I don't look, otherwise I'll make an accident. So I think we have to find solutions for it.
Right. Does this concept remove the greenery and openness of Sheikh Zayed Road at the site proposed? How does this help reduce the heat island effect, improve biodiversity and general wellness for the city users in this location?
Didn't remove, actually. The plaza, it's all about the greenery, so we're increasing the greenery there. So maybe what you're talking about, it is the green spaces between the service road and the main road. So imagine if you have the entire road as a landscape. I think the equation is higher. I would say maybe we increase it by 60–70%. Just go back again to the slides of the main slide that's showing it's not about the building again. For me, if you give me a chance to build the plaza only, I'll be more than happy to take the first step, and then the building comes in a later stage. So and maybe in each station of XSpace, the one I mentioned in the map, it could be different function for the area. But again, the main idea is to stitch the city. That's what we are aiming for.
Great. If anyone has any further questions, please send them in. We have 5 minutes remaining. There's a slight lag till questions come in. Mouaz, would you like to share some of the models of XSpace perhaps?
I can maybe share the presentation again too. Maybe I better show the
physical model.
This one will explain maybe more. So basically, those are the towers here from the right and left. And what we are trying to do here was to take all this area here. So whatever under those buildings here, plus that plaza from that side, plaza from that side, it became a green area. The one that you were talking about in the previous question was actually a small line happening here and here. So we didn't cancel that one, but we used part of it as a structure of the building, and then we give more spaces as a urban space here in the middle there. Plus the courtyard, plus all what's happening in the area. Again, it helps also here the museum. That's the museum here. It helps this museum to connect to that one. I'll just move the camera a little bit to show you a bigger model. Second. Don't know can you see this model?
Yeah, we can see that.
I think that model explains it better. It shows more buildings. It shows how the building here interacting with how also the plaza is teaching the two sides. So this is again part of the other model.
Perfect. Thank you, Mouaz. Wonderful. Thank you, Mouaz. There are no further questions coming in, so let's close today's session. Perfect. So let's close up today. A huge thank you, Mouaz, once again for personally taking time out of your day midweek to join us. And also thank you everyone for joining us on your lunch break from within the Gulf, as well as our audience from all over the world. Just a gentle reminder once again, our third installment of the RIBA Gulf live lunch talks will be held on 25th March. We will be covering a slightly different topic to past sessions. We will be discussing marketing strategies for architects. So if you're interested, please register in the link sent over in the chat bar. And that's about it for today. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you.